quick look. I put children on no-fly list, and it brought up hundreds of articles. I just printed out a few. The first one from Associated Press back in 2006. 4-year-old turns up on no-fly list. So this is a 4-year-old, okay? Then here's Mikey, who they just had on there. Mikey's the Boy Scout, Mikey Hicks. Back in 2010, the U.S. had him on the watch list, the terror watch list, no-fly list. Then we've got, here's an 18-month-old baby yanked from airplane for being on no-fly list. 18-month-old baby. Like there's no logic being based on what they're doing.
Face.
It's
just terror.
Yeah.
Grab that pacifier. Take that right out of her mouth. Yeah.
TSA detains 5-year-old because his name was on the no-fly list.
So these are these bumbling fools that they're like, well, I don't know, 5-year-old, your name's on the list.
Exactly. And then in 2014, an Oregon judge said, we got to stop this no-fly list. This is ridiculous. And it was 14 plaintiffs came forward and said, look, we don't know how we get on. We don't know how we get off. He tried to stop it, but here, still 2016, Canadian 6-year-old, still on no-fly list despite government's help. And I did find out how you get on the no-fly list. Check out this criteria. Okay, they don't want to base it. They say they don't base it on anything that includes freedom of speech or exercise of religion or peaceful assembly. But that can be superseded, such as if the individual expresses sympathy toward a group the U.S. government considers to be a terrorist organization, or a student of a school or university that employs professors or other staff who are known to espouse ideologies and beliefs the U.S. deems radical.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how you get on the list. Anything radical
that the U.S. deems.
And just understand that all across Europe, anybody who opposes the European Union, who opposes the open borders, they're all called radical extremists.
Yeah.
Okay. So all you have to do is just be politically opposed to open borders and the destruction of your sovereignty and your country, and you're immediately an enemy of the state, an enemy of the globalist state. And that's what really should concern us. We've got here's an article. 9 out of 10 people on the terror watch list who sought guns were approved in 2015, says CNN. Oh, you think that might be a problem? Well, no, actually, the FBI says, no, there's a reason for that. And it was just, FBI was just overridden by the Department of Justice. They said, we don't want to have the no-fly list be used as a gun ban. The FBI said that. Why would they say that? Well, they said, we're doing an investigation with these people, and we've got them on this list, and we don't want to alert them if we're actually doing an investigation to see if this person is a terrorist. If they go in and try to buy a gun, as it is right now, we get notified, but we don't block the gun sale because we want to do part of our investigation. You're going to tip them off. So the Obama Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, has now overruled the FBI director because he's under her and said, no, we're going to do it. Not giving no explanation as to
that's exactly what they did with the underwear bomber. They were notified by his father and other people that this guy was being radicalized. He was given a bomb, incidentally, that didn't work on purpose. And then Under Secretary of State Patrick Kennedy testified before Congress that they did not block his travel visa because they wanted to see who he was working with. And then this incident happens and they go, oh, body scanners. Oh, we just happen to have them here. And here's the former DHS head who happens to run the company that sells body scanners. It's so amazing.
Convenient.
It always happens. They say, we've been watching this guy for a long time. You hear that every time. You heard it in France. You heard it everywhere. This is a known wolf, not a lone wolf only, but a known wolf. They do that constantly. But if it was a legitimate investigation, I mean, this is not even, what he's saying is, besides the Constitution, besides the principles of the Constitution, you don't even have a good pragmatic reason for doing this. Because if we're doing legitimate investigations of people who are terrorists, who are criminals, who are plotting something, we don't want to alert them. So even the people who buy this official government narrative should look at this and say, this doesn't make any sense from a pragmatic standpoint. Forget the Constitution. It just doesn't make any good sense from an investigation. But we know it's been used over and over again to allow these episodes to go forward because it fits their political agenda.
Right. And if everyone's asking, well, the FBI knew about this guy, why didn't they do anything the many countless times? Is this why? Because they were wanting to see who he was talking to, where he was going, and then, maybe he just acted a little too quickly for them to stop him.
Well, they pulled him off those lists a couple years ago. But they also include dead people on the no-fly list. Maybe Omar is now on the no-fly list.
Yeah, now
that he's dead.
Retroactively on the no-fly list.
Because they do that in case people try to use assumed names. So dead people, children, anybody. And then we interviewed back in 2012 Wade Hicks, who was flying around. One of the first
stories I covered.
Yeah, he was flying around, and a 34-year-old Mississippi resident was going to visit his wife, who was a Navy lieutenant stationed in Okinawa. And on his way back, he was basically stopped in Hawaii, and he couldn't.
He was on his way there.
He was on his way there.
He never got to see her because they detained him in Hawaii. I mean, you get into Hawaii and they put you on a no-fly list. He flew there on a military plane, and then they transferred the planes, and he's going to the second leg going to Japan, and they come on the plane as it's about to take off and say, "You come with us."
Yeah, very
Took him off.
dramatic.
Said, "You're on a no-fly list. You can't." It was like, what's going on? This guy had been vetted by the TSA. He had all kinds of licenses and privileges from them. He had been vetted for firearms and all these other types of things. No explanation given to him. And, of course, they pull you off in Hawaii. You're stuck if you can't fly. I mean, it's like, how am I going to get out of here? Am I going to catch a slow freighter out of here or whatever? But they kept him there for a couple of weeks. He never got to see his wife. Eventually, because it became a big issue, we covered it. The military stepped down, and they put him out. But here's the deal. They would never tell him why he was on the list. They would never tell him how he could get off the list or whether he was still on the list.
He was still on it. And we have that video right now, so you can actually hear from his mouth back in 2012, what this guy had to go through. It was from our old studio. This is David Knight, vintage David Knight from 2012. So let's roll that video.
If you're in that type of situation, you have to keep your head screwed on straight. Don't get emotional and just do whatever you know or what you think is the best thing to do. And for me, it was going to the media, going to my friends, because those were really the only people that were going to be able to help me. The government wasn't going to do anything to help me. They were just doing their whole bureaucratic nightmare stuff. So I could have been there 3 months had I not been as proactive as I was trying to get this story out.
That's right, and they still, to this day, have not given you any information as to why you were put on the list or what your current status is, whether you're on the list or whether you're off of the list, right?
No, they've never, I've asked for it in writing. They've never given me anything in writing to say that I was on the list. They never gave me anything that says I was off the list. And it completely throws everything we know about the Constitution and due process out the window.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous situation, not just for you, but for everybody. Because when the government can secretly accuse somebody of something, you still have no idea what they thought was wrong.
Okay, you can see the rest of that when you come. If you want to go to the Alex Jones channel, you can look that up. This is an interesting quote from Lindsey Graham, our favorite senator here. He says, we got a lot of favorite senators.
Just went to Bilderberg. Just went to Bilderberg.
That's right, at Bilderberg.
Confirmed sighting at the airport. So
here's what Lindsey Graham says. He says, the only way you should get off the list is if they no longer believe you're a threat. It should have nothing to do with not being able to prove a crime. Wow. Nothing to do with not being able to prove a crime. In other words, as he said before, shut up. You don't get a lawyer. And we don't have to prove that you're not doing a crime or however that works. All these double negatives. I'm confused, Lindsey. How does this work?
Yeah.
It's just pure. I mean, this is tyranny. This is something we should all be very concerned about because it's all done in secret.
And this is one of those problems that's not right out in the open. So unless it's affecting you, most people probably won't even care about this no-fly list because they're not being affected by it.
Right.
But it's going to be a no-drive list.
And then it'll be a no-work list.
They're conflating the no-fly list with the terror watch list. So people that don't really understand the difference between the two are just automatically assuming it means you're a terrorist and not understanding that children are being put on this list.
And you're being, sequestered by people like TSA agents who really have no idea what the law is anyway and could care less. I had them when I was going to Dresden. They were saying, telling me that the reason we have these body scanners for the underwear bomber. I'm like, look, it's all fake, man. It's all fake. It's all theater. I don't know what more to tell you.
Expose that, yeah.
It's totally ridiculous, but they don't stop.
I got so busy fighting the globalists for 15 years, I turned into a giant fat slob when I was an exercise fanatic before. Now, in the last 5 years, I set out to try to get back in shape. And to help turbocharge that, I talked to top scientists and nutraceutical developers and said, I want something that blocks these estrogen mimickers, something that helps me get back to what a real male was like instead of this globalist bombardment. And we developed Super Male and Super Female Vitality. They're bestsellers. They're loved across the industry. They're amazing. You owe it to yourself to get a bottle of Super Male Vitality today at InfoWarsStore.com. Folks, it's so amazing what Mother Nature gave us. You're crazy if you don't at least try a bottle of this because you can't lose. You're funding the info war and the fight for freedom worldwide while at the same time getting a game-changing supplement at InfoWarsStore.com. Super Male Vitality is now back in stock. It's been sold out for several months, and it's available at InfoWarsStore.com by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.